I'm Mr. James.
And I'm Mr. Ritchie.
And we are the Educators. All right, Season 4, Episode 12. You got to check the date here. I was like, Sorry, guys, I'm working a slide. It's March 25th. It's Thursday. Oh, my God. Yeah, what a week and a half, 2 weeks. Wow.
Yeah, we are in the middle of a new trimester. And for any other educators out there, every new trimester is a new adventure. And so add COVID to it, and it is more like, not an adventure, but a misadventure.
Now, we do have a little bit of a reveal, and we said we'd do it right at the beginning of this podcast. So let's just get with this. I have to ask you a question. You probably have to ask me a question.
All right.
We talked about vaccines last time, and we got cut off because I used a laptop. Because the camera that I'm looking at directly right now was at the school because I had to make 1,000 videos.
And that's what teachers do. They bring their personal equipment into school and use it.
And I have another camera there, which I should have thought of using, but the audio is subpar because every company in the world makes their own version of a Logitech Pro HD camera now, and they all want to be the same thing, and they say, hey, buy it and we'll give you the money back, and then it turns out not to be the same quality, the audio's bad, something like that. And so I bring this in and then I forget it there, and then it's like, okay, I've got nothing except for a laptop, and I don't have the charger. So I've got to ask you a question.
All right.
Are you, or did you already get vaccinated?
I wouldn't let anyone vaccinate me, no, I'm just kidding. I totally got vaccinated. Yes. I believe in science. Yep. Totally felt the punch in the arm for a couple days. Yeah.
All right. You going to ask me a question?
How about you? Do you think that you're going to get the COVID vaccine?
Well, I mean, I was thinking about it. But I mean, there's so many people, busy right now. But yes, I got it the other week. And my arm hurt for 3 days, but I'm going to be going back in like 20 something days. Moderna, baby.
Yeah, that's right. Moderna. We got that sweet Moderna juice running through our veins right now.
I was waiting for a fever or something, but it didn't happen.
Nope. Supposedly the second injection is worse, but I'm getting mine on a Wednesday. That'll be a fun couple of days at work.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's if it lasts more than that. Well, this podcast is about, are we doing too much? And the answer is yes. Okay, I'm Mr. James.
And I'm Mr. Ritchie. Okay. We'll see you later.
Oh, yeah. I will probably edit some music in there. But yeah,
right.
We've asked this question, and we actually recently had a big meeting with our UAs, and because we're in the middle of GradeGate right now.
Yeah, GradeGate.
It's horrible. Parents are coming after us. They're upset because their children did not do the work online that they were supposed to do. And they are giving excuses that have nothing to do with the fact that it wasn't done. And if anything, it could be done with something wasn't shown to them from the classroom or something else, but it's being placed on us, and we're all getting emails daily about this. And
well, so you and I, we are UA teachers, or Unified Arts teachers. So that means that we see every student in the school. So we have the joy of, delivering grades to every single student in a fairly large school. I mean, we have over 500 kids this year, usually 600 to 700 on a normal year. And other UA teachers in our school are getting emails from parents saying that they question whether their content is age appropriate and all this stuff. And it's like, well, on a normal year, you don't usually get parents like questioning content. Like, that's not a usual thing, but like, because it's so personal this year, because the children are not the only people viewing our content. It's obviously the parents, for the littles, especially kindergarten through second grade. Generally speaking, a parent is with them while doing work. So it's not only the child, the student, looking at our content and reacting to it. It's the parent as well. And so it's made this much more personal. Of course, everyone is stressed to the max. Everyone's pulled in a million different directions. I am no different. However, when people speak to me, they seem to forget that we are all going through this pandemic together. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But basically, are we doing too much? Yes, but the general public says, we don't think you're doing anything. And if you go online, you'll see comments like, teachers need to get back to work. And it's oh yeah, this online content just makes itself. It just puts itself together.
And it's not like we don't have like a full day every day of like in-person students as well. We're just also balancing this online life, which is supposedly, you know, for some of us, and basically I'm looking at the other person that I can agree with this, that ours basically complements and supplements what we do in class.
Yeah,
it will help you understand more in class if you look at the stuff online. It's just completely, and then some of them, it's just like, there's some teachers that just kind of throw a dart, it lands on something. Yep. Make them do that. And they get away with that. And basically say, hey, the lax way is the way to go. No one's going to care and you're going to get away with it. And some have gone away with it for dozens of years, literally. And whatever, you know, the biggest thing is, and I made this joke all the time of like, do you want a teacher to go away? Wait till they retire, because they're not going to be fired. No, everyone is needed so badly that you can be subpar and still have a job and make whatever money that you normally can.
And unfortunately, you and I, we get flack because we believe in the curriculum, we believe in what we do, and we hold students accountable. And, you know, the beginning of this crazy year, it was delivered to us that the students come in, hybrid students come in for 2 days, and then they work remotely for 2 days. So therefore, we provide content for them at home. And when we hold them accountable for completing said content, that creates a problem. But it's like, well, but we're doing the right thing. We're doing the thing that was asked of us.
Yeah.
And because we're doing that, we end up getting more flack. And so, you know, it's one of those situations that hopefully will be improved as we go on. But right now we are in, like you said, GradeGate. So we are
COVID gate.
right in the middle. We're in the middle of COVID gate. And on that, we are on a general uptick.
Yeah.
No, this is not a good thing.
Yeah.
Maine is up. The United States is up. The world is up over the last week. And last week, I remember I talked that Maine was up, but the US and the world were trending downward. And, you know, I knew that wasn't going to last. It's just the way it is. And it's funny, in here in Maine, we do have a saying, you know, so what is it? As Maine goes, so goes the nation, or something.
Yeah.
And it's pretty common that like what Maine passes for laws and what Maine does, the rest of the United States tends to not follow. Just we happen to be usually ahead of the curve for some reason. And well, last week Maine was up while the world, the United States and the world were down, but they caught up to us. All right, we're all in that uptick now. We got Maine at a 1 week or 7 day daily average of 197 people in the state of Maine testing positive for COVID-19. The United States, we are over 57,000 people a day on average testing positive for COVID-19. And around the world, 460,000 people every day on average testing positive for COVID-19. And one thing that I think is interesting, we'll have to analyze this as it goes on. I was just thinking about it. Is that we're now right now in spring, or in Maine we call this mud season.
Yeah.
And and the way that the trends worked recently was that New Zealand and Australia, they were doing fantastic with COVID mitigation, but that's because they were in summer and we were in winter, and so our numbers were spiking, their numbers were tanking. I haven't looked at the information in a while, but now's about the time that I've been preparing to like see if their numbers spike, and what their spike is, because I mean their numbers are nowhere near 57,000 people a day. Not even I don't even think Australia as a whole continent, has 197 cases a day like Maine does. So I'm interested to see that data and see where it goes from here. And the only reason why I say that I'm interested is because we're living in it at this point, and data's fun, but the situation isn't. But data's fun, but unfortunately, an uptick.
Too bad. Science time, though. We get some
That's right.
science. And I think I always add when I see the space ones, I'm like, space and physics. I know you're going to like that. Got to put that in there. Now,
I did like these ones, but I was curious as we have a coronavirus in the background here.
yes. And, I wonder what I was thinking. I think I might have taken one out.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Now,
sorry, people.
I did like this one. So 50 years ago, experiments hinted at the possibility of life on Mars.
Yeah.
And they really thought at that point that it was probable that there would be signs of life on Mars, because they took certain chemicals, bombarded them with cosmic rays, and found organic chemicals were a result. And although organic chemicals are not life, it's the ingredients. It's like, you walk into a room and there's dough, pepperoni, some cheese, and some sauce. You're like, all right, the ingredients for a pizza are here. Whereas, you walk into another room and there's, tomatoes and wheat and sugar and a cow, and you don't go immediately, oh, well, there's a pizza. So it's like they took these complicated things and they got the ingredients that, if you just mix them together, creates life. And that's CHON, right?
Yeah.
Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. And there's a couple others in there. But then they sent the Viking landers to Mars, which Carl Sagan, my personal hero of all my heroes, Carl Sagan, he's the best. And he had a huge part on the Viking landers. They landed, so the landers or lander, they don't rove. A rover moves and a lander just lands. So it lands in a very specific place. They scooped up samples of dirt, put it into these ovens, they cook the chemicals, and then they basically sniff the air that comes off the cooked chemicals. And when they did that, one of the Viking landers reported some chemicals that would only exist for life. And so at first, it seemed like everything was hook, line, and sinker. There's life on Mars. We got to get there, all that. But then subsequent tests turned out that they think that there was contamination from Earth, all kinds of stuff. But the experiments continue. And they originally thought that, it was possible for life to be on Mars. We just landed, a rover on Mars that's the size of a car, and it's nuclear powered, and its only goal is to seek out life. Yeah. And so, the evidence that we've got says that, what, life's probably there. And if it's not currently alive, there's still hints that it was alive, that life did exist there. So 50 years ago, their experiments hinted at it. We're unfortunately not a whole lot closer to really showing this is life from Mars, but we've found water. We have found evidence of rivers. We have found, and I think Perseverance right now, the rover, is sensing like, or was it Curiosity? I can't remember. But methane, there's seasonal methane changes on Mars. And methane is something that is an organic compound. It comes from living creatures, usually, because it usually just degrades if it's not reproduced somewhere. And so we're still hopeful. Unfortunately, until we put people and scientific equipment on the surface of Mars, we'll never know. The robots are good. I do support robotic exploration. However, I am a very big human exploration proponent, and I hope that we send some scientists to the surface, or we scoop up some dirt and send it back here. whatever can happen
Like
first.
the Mars
would be great.
One people, come on, the Mars One
Oh,
thing that I think got canceled, and because so many crazy people go, I don't like Earth, I want to go, and you're like, can you hold your breath? Can you put
wrong.
your caloric intake down to 1/5 of what it is right now and survive? Can you go without water for up to 3 days? I think it's 3 or 4 days, then you can die. It's all these things that, like, can you really test your body to the limit and do all this stuff? Because then you can be like, oh, I'm something's going on. I can turn this mechanism on in my body because I know myself. That's the person that can survive on another planet, as well as having all the technology. You don't
But
want somebody who's just like, I'm just sick of this planet. Yeah,
yeah,
go to
right.
school and learn something, okay?
And it's those people. So the biggest problem with going to Mars too is that, like, it's going to take a minimum of like 6 months to get
Oh yeah,
there, and 6 months is the longest the average stay on the International Space Station, because after 6 months, because we've had hundreds of astronauts at this point, and cosmonauts, and taikonauts from China, we have hundreds of people that have gone to space. And after 6 months, there's something that happens. We are human. There's something that happens in the human brain that it starts to break down a little bit, and social interaction becomes strained, and crew like, I don't know what you call it, the gelling of crew is more important to NASA than basically someone's capability at this point. I think that because there hasn't been really huge issues in space, although in Skylab there was a mutiny, but I think that's a big something that got fluffed up back in the 70s. But basically, you can't have someone that's mentally unstable for 6 months on the way to Mars, and then they go, I want off of this ship. There's no off.
It's going to turn it to MTV, The Real World.
Yes. And NASA does not want drama. NASA's like a very drama-free sort of place. SpaceX, on the other hand, might just send whoever wants to pay, which, competing theories. I'm curious.
Put the cameras on. They go, why is this whole cabin, everything surrounded by cameras? There's like, well, we're making money on this, and this is actually a show. We're going to edit it every single week, and it's going to be hilarious because you are off the hinge, and you're always angry, and we've been
real world
playing jokes with you and stuff like that. We told you that was a toilet. It's actually not a toilet. You're an idiot. Can't believe you're doing that. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious too. I'd watch that show, but I'd still be like, I feel so bad for that, all the money we put into that. But the money they would earn off that show would pay for the actual, the spaceship, and all the people would pay for everything. Just to send some people up and put a nice show on before they basically kill each other in 6 months.
Yeah, we'd watch that. I'd watch that, but I'm human, but I'd also watch it for different reasons. But it'd be something like Survivor. I would be both the best and the worst person on Survivor, because number one, I'd survive, I'd figure it out. But number two, I wouldn't care about anyone else there because I'm an introvert, and I would not be in front of the camera. The camera would get bored. Yeah. Like, I'd be there chilling by myself, happy as a clam, getting my food, doing my thing. I would not have alliances. I wouldn't do any of that stuff. And therefore, they'd kick me off the island probably. But, can't do that on a
kick you out of the airlock.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Let me in. You're pulling your tether. All right. Atomic clocks take a step toward redefining the second.
I know. It seems like there's two angles on this, but this one is like redefining the second. Some people might be like, whoa, wait a minute. This is big. No, it's not big. And we're talking about the difference between a trillionth and a quadrillionth.
Yeah.
So of a second. So, but depending on who you are, this is a big deal. If you are in the business of, let's say, stocks, let's say you are a day trader, and you, a millisecond is the difference between you making a couple grand versus losing a couple grand, then you want to make sure that your computers are exactly precise as to what a second is, because obviously your buy or sell gets in before the next person, and that's been a thing over the last 25 years, especially with these automated and like AI generated sales, buy and sell at the like just these incredibly fast time frames. Well, this atomic clock idea that they have, where they're going to compare 3 different types of atomic clocks to average out the real most accurate second that they can get. Well, you'd be interested in this if you had, an interest in getting your data faster than the other person. And if you're also in, I don't know, like if you wanted to play music with someone across the internet, you don't want any latency. Well, if your computer versus your, partner's computer are not, like, if their time is different, you get latency. And so there are really big things that could happen for this, especially if you're thinking about like quantum computers. Quantum computer is, I don't know, it hurts my head to think about them, but it's like the people that build those are going to care if the clock is off by a quadrillionth of a second. And so they have to redefine the second. And it won't matter to anyone else. To everyone else, our seconds could be a tenth off, and it really won't matter because it's just sort of like, no one cares. But for some people, this will make a big deal. And it's like one of the clocks that they're using uses a single atom of aluminum. And if you think about that, like somewhere there's this laboratory that has not only gained power over a single atom, but like they're so confident that they can confine a single atom and study it and measure its output and use it to measure time. Like, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And it leads us to a conclusion that you should probably stop talking about science if you don't know science, because we can control single atoms. Whereas you think that scientists can't measure temperature and the what gases are in the atmosphere. That's my usual thing. Climate change deniers just get me. But it's like, we can control atoms, but these people think we can't read thermometers. And like, guys, like I don't know what to tell you, but like we can control atoms. We can we understand the universe on a very, very good level. Like, you're arguing against nothing. So atomic clocks, redefining the second, big deal, but also not really big deal.
I mean, Large Hadron Collider definitely needs to have that stuff worked on. They need to know that perfectly, and I'm sure they're going to apply all of this stuff.
That's a good point too. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, particle physics. Geez, a trillionth of a second measurement of the lifespan of a particle. Means something. That means it could be different. Like, it's just like, and the Large Hadron Collider, people are like, well, what are we getting from that? Well, I mean, all they're doing is peering into existence itself and figuring it out, like, they're doing something important. Yes, it's a huge, colossal machine, biggest machine ever built, but like, it's like there's a reason why we're spending this money. There's a reason why people are doing this, because like, we know what the inside of atoms are. And there are particles right now that we don't know what the inside of them look like or what they're made out of, but that's why we need these clocks to be accurate, so we can figure that out.
And our last item, a new black hole image reveals the behemoth's magnetic fields.
And I looked at that. I looked at the image, of course, and I was like, it looks photoshopped. I clicked on that link and I was like, but then I clicked on the link that went to the paper that studied it, and there's pages and pages of just math and formulas and stuff. And so I was like, okay, like, obviously the image is doctored a little bit to accentuate what they're seeing, but it's like, they're not literally seeing these lines. What they're doing is they're measuring certain things and using math to infer, their velocity and infer, their mass. And It's pretty amazing. And so, I mean, black holes have what's called an accretion disk. An accretion disk is basically any planet, protoplanet, or star, as they're forming, matter tends to come and swirl around it. And as matter swirls and interacts with each other, it tends to form a flat disk, kind of like how Saturn's rings are flat. Yeah. Instead of just having them as a cloud around Saturn. The spin of the planet and just the way that matter and gravity works tends to flatten matter into an accretion disk. And as this accretion disk reaches the event horizon of a black hole, which is the point of no return, incredible energies happen, and jets. So these like these particle jets and energy jets come out of black holes. We've known about them forever, but because we've only taken an image of a black hole recently, there's a lot of study going into these images. And while they noticed a pattern in the image of light and dark bands, and it reveals basically kind of what they already knew, but that it's these jets are heavily magnetized. Yeah. And everything in the world is magnetic, and everyone thinks, you know, magnet is magnetic. It is, but so is your body. So is everything. It just happens that iron, if you put an electric charge through it, aligns its electrons in a certain way so that it attaches itself to metal, like an iron, or it attaches itself to another piece of iron. Well, the stuff that's happening in these black holes is incredibly magnetic, which is a big deal about learning about what this whole thing is, this universe is that we're in. It's pretty neat stuff. Yeah. Deep, very deep, but it's important.
Yeah, deep and important, kind of like from an educator.
That's right.
And I think I didn't change the picture of this, but
that's all right. Everybody, it kind of looks like me.
We're kind of busy. Like, we're kind of busy.
Except for the jeans. Like, I wear a plaid shirt every day.
Yeah.
But except for the jeans, you know, the bald spot and the plaid shirt, it looked like me standing in front of that board. I was like, all right, I like that.
No one would write equations that large.
Yeah.
And honestly, the equation the person's doing, I know what they're doing. And
yeah,
it's kind of just like, it's not one equation. It's multiple equations that nothing has been inputted into it. It's just like, here's these equations. You can put these numbers into it. It's like someone just kind of laying out all these equations for like, okay, if you want to find the circumference of this, put there. And it's like, okay, great. But that's what happens when you do a Google search and they just show you random stuff. Who knows? It's probably someone's stuff.
This is freshman algebra. And this teacher is looking at
trigonometry, sine X.
Yeah, right. There's some trigonometry. That's right. And they're like just looking at this board, like, who changed this? You know, that's what he looks like right now. Like, he's got his arms crossed. Like, who put this mess on my board? Like, who did this?
And that 35 degree angle is not A. It's just, so from an educator, parents and grades.
Yeah.
GradeGate.
That's why we bring it up.
Yeah. So my big thing for this is and I had to say this, there is nothing more ineffectual than a parent making excuses for a child when they are really making excuses for their own lack of discipline. Right?
I like
that. Your child did not do the work. Maybe it's because you didn't check up on them. And if we've taken our liberties and trying to make sure that it gets through, the district is like, you have to do this, teachers, and we do this. And yet, for some reason, the student doesn't do the work when others in the class do the work. So basically, there's not a breakdown of communication, like it's not going to someone's place.
Yeah.
Especially for the length of time that we have them in class. I mean, if there was a problem, it'd be a problem with a lot of different things. They'd get it solved in like a day. So they can't, it basically is the parents lacking in their own discipline of either parenting, like, hey, did you do your work? Or maybe they just don't, their way of going about life is just not disciplined and motivated.
Yeah.
How is that working for everybody? Probably not too good.
Well, you know, it's you have these people that are they're put into some seriously stressful situations, like they have to work at home and tend to their child who's learning at home, and they're saying, how am I supposed to possibly do this? Well, again, we're all in this together. We're all going through it. Our own kids are going through this stuff. And it's one thing to say, you know what, right now this is too much, and the amount of work that's coming in for my child is too much for me to follow up with. And you know what, we're just gonna, this year's gonna be a wash. This year's just gonna,
then don't complain about the grades.
And then you don't complain about the grades because you
teachers
understand
are objectively grading, that we're grading as a different person than actually the person that's in the classroom teaching. We're objectively.
And then on the other hand, you've got these people that are same situation, but they go, what the heck is going on? What are these teachers doing by giving my fantastic child, who's so nice and beautiful, how
he has nothing to relate. Nothing relates to like are they disciplined, motivated, intellectual? Are they what are they doing? No, there's these other tributes that have nothing to do with education.
They're kind. But did they do their work? No, but they're kind and they're nice, and
that's what I basically got an email this week about that, really going into like detail about how this person works so hard at home, and is really smart, and as I am glad, and this I do not doubt any of that.
Right?
Was the work online finished? It says in my notes and several places, no.
Yeah.
So I had to grade it. I mean, just me tallying up the things and going through every person's work takes a long time. Took a long time to do that. I'm not I'm not just looking at someone going, well, they're a nice person, just give them the highest grade I can.
Yeah. Well, you and I especially, like, I mean, I think all teachers should, but you and I strive to be as objective as possible and to remove as much subjectivity as possible. I don't want to ever have administration be like, think that I am catering to some students just because they're nice, or they're good in class or whatever, versus the ones that do the work, that meet the standards, that do this. And right now, this year, the standard is turn in the work. Like, it doesn't even matter if it's wrong. We're not even holding them to that standard. It's just participation. And participation is not submitting blank assignments. So right now I'm dealing with a parent of 6 assignments, so hybrid, 6 assignments. One of them was a freebie. It was like they had to submit no evidence. And I told them that. I said, if you're done your project, turn this one in just to say I'm done my project. That was it. So of course every student submitted that one, right? 5 others. First one, blank. Send a message. Hey, I can't accept blank assignments. Make sure you fill out the next one. Second, blank. I was like, second assignment that you sent in blank. Third assignment, blank. I said, I will not accept blank assignments as participation. You have to at least attempt the activity. 2 of the 6 were done with minimal effort, but they participated, so they got full credit. And with that freebie, that means they submitted half the required work, and they did not get a great grade. They didn't get the worst. They were just under meeting standards. So in our situation, we have to report they didn't meet the standard.
Yeah.
And I almost look forward to this. I almost look forward to explaining this to this person. Like, I am absolutely as objective as possible. There's not going to be some way that they're going to be able to find some, weakness in my plan. They're not going to find it. They're not going to be able to find a way to say that I was subjective in my grading, because number one, me and this kid have a good relationship. Number 2, I have all my tracks covered. And number 3, I was a teacher, and you and I were both, that we followed procedure. And To some of us that means something. Some of us think that the world is all malleable to our own emotions and things. And then some of us realize that, there are laws and there are things that we follow. And in this case, I am perfectly confident. I can't wait for this conversation. And, it's really unfortunate because, like you said, they're making excuses for their own lack of discipline. They see these grades as a reflection of themselves. And in a way, they can be. I'm not going to say blanket statement that every student is 100% a product of their parents. I mean, that's incorrect for me, let alone like many other people. But like they're taking it personal, and they're like, "How dare they do this?" Well, honestly, you're not rigorous enough. Sorry, that's what it is. You got to check up on your kid, especially in elementary school. If you want to set them up. So, and then with this, there's a loss of respect and appreciation for education as a whole. There are so many people online that just want to, they could just click and drag the education system and drop it into the waste basket of their computer, they would do that. And it's like, you can't do that, one, and they're upset that they can't. And then number two, do you know what happens in societies without robust education? Without free education? Like we're public educators. We could easily work at a private school. I mean, I'm not convinced that private school is worth it, but I work in public school specifically, personally. But it's like, there's a reason why public school exists, because without it, the population is significantly hampered and under the control of the wealthy who can afford education.
Yeah.
And if you don't provide a competitive education to counteract what the wealthy can do, then your, underprivileged part of society gets basically trod under by the wealthy. And I am wholeheartedly for providing an equitable education to everybody. But when you don't respect the process, you lose respect for the teachers, because you see the teachers as the physical embodiment of this process, of this program, and it's not. We're just one cog in this giant wheel, of administration and funding and things of that. So it's like, because of this culture of disrespect for education, also coming from people that think that we need to put their chosen God back into education, it's like, I really can't respect those views, because it's just a disrespect for the whole process, and their answers don't make sense. And so therefore, it's unfortunate that they have this mentality that my kid didn't get good grades, what's wrong with the teacher, versus my kid didn't get good grades, what's wrong with the kid, like that.
I set my stuff up just so that if somebody else said, okay, you teach the classes, you set up all the assignments, you do all this work, and then we're going to have somebody else come in and actually do the grading portion to see if they did it. I set everything up that I do so that somebody else could easily come in and objectively do the grading.
Yeah.
And honestly, they might even grade worse than I did, because I keep bumping my lowest grade up. I bumped it up. It used to be like a lower grade, and I bumped it up just a little bit, because I said, I'm just going to give, I looked at what it looked like percentage wise. I said, I'm just going to bump it up a little bit. But, that somebody else wouldn't do that. But mine is set up for that. And I try to take all subjectivity out of it. I mean, I say try to, because I think we all do that in some way. But I mean, when we're grading, when we have like 15 different possible assignments from these 3 weeks, possibly, that, it could be up to that. It could be, 6, anywhere from 6 to, sometimes I have 4. I had 2 extra per week. So 12, extra assignments. And maybe I have some questions in there and stuff like that. So taking that and putting that into one grade, because that's all we have. We only are allowed to have one single grade. Other teachers have like a swath of different things they can add in. We only get one grade, and
Yeah.
the average, to average all that out, it's just it's crazy. It's a reason why a lot of teachers just kind of batch fill everything at one grade, and yeah, whatever, that's great. I don't have to think about it. Well, you didn't do part of what your job was, is to objectively give them that. But I mean, if no one respects you for doing that job, then why are you going to do it, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's
Yeah.
just like there's no, it's like being punished for doing something good.
That's exactly what it feels like right now. And,
You know?
especially in the community that we serve, there's a need for rigorous education to help pull children out of cyclical poverty. And you don't get there by disavowing or denigrating just like the education system, the thing that's going to provide this child an opportunity that the parents can't provide.
Yeah.
We provide this outlook. We show different angles of the world, and it could inspire them. And then to say that we're not doing it right, I can't respect that opinion.
I think that totally goes with this next slide, which was totally not fixed because it still has the hands together.
Yeah. Are
Oh
we doing
my
too
gosh!
much? Yes.
I thought I looked. I thought I looked at this slide. I think I've used this slide for 3 weeks now.
Well, when I look through it, I'm as guilty too, because when I look through these pre-show,
oh my gosh, I know.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah, that's all I wrote. Are we doing too much? Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I am working, I can at least say now, between 50 to 80 hours a week. I'd say this week at least, I'm probably down to like 65, 70, and it's still too much.
Yeah.
I didn't, I stayed 3.5 hours past my contracted time last night. I showed up a complete half an hour before my contracted time this morning, and stayed 2.5 hours past my contracted time today. I am putting in massive amounts of overtime, and I come from an industry where overtime is a thing that you just do. Like, I come from automotive repair, where it's just sort of like, everything's based on the hour. You get a job that's booked for 3 hours, you try to get it done in 2, so you have an hour left to, that's extra money. You just bring in another job, you made that money, you bank it out. Or if you're an hourly employee, then you just work overtime. Working overtime is normal in automotive repair. It's just a thing that happens, but you get time and a half, compensation. I don't get time and a half. And I have never, in 1 year span of my entire life, even when I was in my early 20s seeking overtime, I have never worked so many hours, because it's like, I pack my computer up at school, put it in my bag, come home, pull it right back out, flip it open, and I'm back
just in a different setting and stuff like that, where you can be like, yes, okay, dealing with whatever is going on at your house while you're still doing the work. Yeah.
Way less efficient, because, we got children and our partners like around, and a house that we're trying to maintain, and, yard, cars, all these things going on. I'm way more efficient at work, but sometimes I'm just like, all right, got to pack it up. I pack it up, get home, and then I unpack it, and we're back at work. And it's like, that was exactly what happened today. As soon as I got home, I got a bite to eat, and then popped open the laptop, made some emails, and did this and did that. And it's like, I will never invest this much effort into a school year as a teacher, unless some crazy stuff happens again, like this pandemic. Because, like, honestly, I'm doing it for the kids. I'm doing it for the kids, and I'm doing it for society as a whole, because I think that we provide something valuable. And I need to make it work, even though we're learning new things and on these online portals for teaching children and all that. It's just, we need to invest this time, because it's such a massive shift in order to make it right. But Are we doing too much? Sure. Yeah, I'm doing way too much. But you know what? It's COVID because COVID.
Yeah. I mean, I made a video of for kids K through third grade of me doing Pilates and Tabata. And if you don't know what those are, Pilates is basically working on your core, and yeah, kind of tough. But Tabata is working as fast as you possibly can, high intensity interval training. And yeah, I showed them how to do it. I listened to music to that. That was the other day. I had no qualms of turning the camera on and just going at it and doing that. Too much. Yeah, I've got videos coming out all the time. I still have something I was supposed to post tonight. I'm probably going to do that after this. And
Yeah,
it just never ends. And it's not going to end. I have a ton of guitars to make out of cereal boxes, but I intend to do it this weekend. They keep bringing in cereal boxes too. There's so much to do, but you know, I got to keep it doing. Keep doing what I'm doing because I want to make sure that I've got a standard to meet. And this is just the first rotation. I have to repeat this 3 other times. We all have to do this 3 other times. I think that's good as a rant as we've got as well.
Yeah, pretty much we ranted the whole time, you know.
I know.
So.
I think that's good. So that was a kind of a quick.
Hey, there it is.
What does it say?
I work around 80 hours a week.
And I say, quiet. I am working. Quiet. I'm working right now. We can literally have stuff open. Yeah.
Well, at this point, I'm just glad that I don't have so at this point, I also take classes just to hold this job. Yeah. And it's like, luckily that's not happening right now because I count that as work hours too, because I'm putting in effort for my job. Luckily, I'm not up to 80. I'm down to about good solid 65, 70, you know? So, but yeah, it's one of those things where it's like 24 hours a day. I'm at work.
Nothing worse than having somebody else too that you work with tell you how they've given up a long time ago and that they only they only do 1/5, maybe less of the work that you do, and they could care less and they get away with it because they have been.
Oh my, I've never seen such a thing like that. But yes, like there's some people that during this pandemic, they saw the opportunity, and they saw the opportunity to get away to stuff. They said, you know what? Everyone's going to be too busy. Why don't I just relax a little bit? Let me just dial it back. Who cares? And then there are people that saw an opportunity and said, all right, it's a challenging time. I'm going to make this education meaningful, and it's going to take more work. And it's frustrating. You saw it. I did have to dial back a little bit, you know, my expectations, because at this point we are working far harder than we're supposed to, but you know, it doesn't change the impact that I'll make on these students. I will never sandbag myself to lower, you know, to meet a lower expectation. However, sometimes you gotta go with the grain a little bit and relax some things on yourself. But man, is it frustrating to put in this type of work when someone else is like, what are you talking about? I'm fine. If anything, I work less hours. It's like, whew.
I know. You're doing it wrong, man. Doing it wrong. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up. Everybody, stay healthy. Get your shot.
That's right.
Get it done. And, you know, help your children. If you have children, please help your children.
Yeah, focus on their education. Don't just say, hey, did you get all your work done? And when they say yes, agree? No. Go look and check on it, because they probably did. Fuck.
Yeah. Check their spelling too.
Yeah.
That you don't spell rhythm that way. Well, I'm Mr. James.
And I'm Mr. Richie.
And we are the Educator. Have a great night or morning.